We, the women of the Pacific, are strong.
We gain our strength from our ancestors,
our sisters,
our extended families,
and our places of belonging.
We do not stand alone.
We gain our strength from our cultures, our Pacific Island languages,
our stories, our arts, and our traditions.
They shape our past, our present, and our future.
We also gain our strength from the sacred waters of the Pacific. The ocean birthed us in our many islands.
She sustains us and connects us together.
We, the women of the Pacific, are strong.
Oceania is made up of nearly 30,000 islands connected by the vast Pacific Ocean and covering an area equal to 1/3 of the Earth's surface. 14 distinct island nations call the Pacific their home. Nearly 14 million people live in the region, and roughly half of them are women. Women are visible, represented, and competing at all levels of society in the Pacific, except for national politics.
The world average for women's political participation is around 20%. However, in the Pacific, the figure was at 15% for the last 10 years without any changes. And if you take away the figures from Australia and New Zealand, the IPU says it comes to only 3%.
If I was to say what is the women in politics approach in the Pacific, I would say that the approach that seems to be working was not so much a rights approach. You know, it is our right to be involved, it's our right to be involved. I think it's more a gradual recognition and acknowledgement by women and men that having women's views in decisions does actually lead to better decisions, and women's contribution should be recognised in that way and honoured in that way.
Regional politics is the result of several phases of globalization and development, culminating in the present era of self-determination. And since Pacific cultures are not homogeneous, the women of Oceania face challenges unique to their countries, culture, and people. Vanuatu is a group of 82 islands situated in the Western Pacific and is steeped in the rich diversity of Melanesian culture. Contact with the outside world began in the 17th century with waves of explorers, sailors, traders, and then in the mid-19th century, English missionaries and French merchants. This would lead to the signing of the Anglo-French Condominium, which lasted from 1906 to 1980.
But prior to independence, we were administered by France and England under condominium, the joint administration of France and England. In those days, the roles of women were basically on welfare, looking after the people, caring, planting, production, basically for home consumption, caring for the elderly, doing home craft, home care.
Vanuatu was also a target of 19th century blackbirding. From the 1860s to 1904, European slavers swept through the country, coercing or kidnapping boatloads of Ni Vanuatu men and taking them to work in sugarcane plantations in Australia and Fiji.
The key thing in terms of the role of women and men was that when the men had been taken away, the women now took over the roles that were traditionally the men's roles, the cutting of the wood, part of the gardening that was the men's roles, for instance, the digging of the hole and the planting of the yam. Often the men that came back had no place in the society and in community, and in that point of history, a crisis of masculinity where that role that was there for them was no longer there. A lot of the historical documents show that a lot of the aggression and violence really escalated at that point in the history of Vanuatu.
In 1980, when the country gained independence, the islands were renamed by combining two words from a local dialect, Vanua, which means land, and Tu, which means stand, forever memorializing a nation reborn in its independence.
Our first Prime Minister who took independence, like a father of independence, and that is Walter Hadilingi. Our independence in Vanuatu is very powerful because everybody contributes in thinking, working for it, men and women and kids. Because we really mean to be having independence in a sense that we would like to have back our own land, so that we must always have our own government of Vanuatu, and that is why we took independence in 1980.
While modern politics in Vanuatu is reflective of long-standing colonial influence, the pervasive big man system still exists today. Despite the name, women have always played an important role in the big man system.
We had a system, the big man system, whereby only men were seen in leadership position because the chiefs were responsible for the administration of the communities and the people. The main role was basically for maintenance of peace and order.
And nowadays, when you talk to some of the chiefs, they always go back to, the role of women as the weavers. And they really were the keepers of custom because they were the ones that told the stories, but they were also the ones that wove and they made the mats and they fed the pigs and got them ready for the traditional ceremonies, while the men stood at the front and were the orators and the speakers, but the women had to be in the background to do the work that made these men the big men.
Politically, Vanuatu is organized into 6 provinces, which then make up the 3 municipalities that constitute local level government. The national government is made up of a 52-member parliament, headed by a 13-member cabinet and prime minister. Since independence, only 5 Ni Vanuatu women have earned seats in parliament. Hilda Lini and Maria Krobi were both elected in 1987. In 2002, Isabel Donald was elected, followed by Lena Valtasso in 2004, and most recently, Etta Rory in 2008. No women have been elected since. Vanuatu government, NGOs, and civil society groups continue to work together to achieve gender equality in their country.
There was a program by the Vanuatu National Council of Women that specifically looked into supporting and also raising awareness on the importance of women's leadership and especially women's role in parliament. There was also a series of programs funded by OSEI that the Department of Women's Affairs was in partnership with the Electoral Office on voter education. Also the Bridge program funded by UN Women that took place for years since 2008 and recently came to an end in 2011. Our development here is part of a regional and also international efforts in addressing women's rights and issues that affect women not only locally but regionally as well as globally.
A major milestone for women was achieved on May 29, 2013. The Vanuatu Council of Ministers unanimously agreed to the drafting of a bill that would reserve 30 to 34% of seats for women at the municipal level for the next 4 terms. This temporary special measure, or TSM, is the first step in guaranteeing that Ni Vanuatu women will have a voice in local politics.
Everyone has come now to accept that TSM was a way forward and an opportunity by women to see what a political leadership would mean for them. One of the reasons why we have targeted municipality was that the structures that I mentioned earlier on, where women are more close to those structures that governs them, provincial government and also the municipality. It was to understand and know the games of politics and how we could better prepare women for the higher level of decision-making bodies such as Parliament.
The Solomon Islands is a vast archipelago of nearly 1,000 islands, featuring nearly 100 different cultures and languages. Alvaro de Mendana was the first European to visit the islands in 1568, finding a complex civilization dating back 30,000 years. The British declared a protectorate over the islands beginning in 1893 as the Solomon people endured a series of conflicts, some of global proportions, until achieving complete independence on July 7, 1978.
Today is a momentous day in our history. With the achievement of independence, Solomon Islands now take its place in the community of nations. I invite every man, woman and child to cherish this day as a moment of great joy.
Governance in the Solomon Islands is split into two levels. There are 9 provinces headed by premiers at the local level. Nationally, candidates from each of the country's 50 single-member constituencies vie for a seat every 4 years. In the 35 years since gaining independence, only 2 women have been elected to national parliament. Hilda Kari served from 1989 until 2001, and the Honorable Vika Lusibaya began her first term in 2012.
We have had 8 national general elections since independence, and during that 8 national general elections, we have about 93 female candidates, 2,500 over male candidates. You have about 27,000 voters voting for women within that period of time, and you have over 1 million voters voting for male candidates within the same period of time. So with that, you can tell that there is great disparity between male and female.
There's the gender perspective is missing from the House at the moment. And so if we have women there, they can assist also to contribute to the same issues that are debated in Parliament, but they can have a balanced way of deciding on what's best for this country.
That is the experience be like a woman, you can do that.
Yeah.
Para matulong na yan. Bagi na story to mas there. Next one, Bami try mo. 14.
My name is Rhoda Kolitebo Sikilabu, and I come from the province of Santa Isabel in the Solomon Islands. I am a candidate in the Isabel province in next year's general elections. I see the inequality in the decision-making levels in the country. I do not wish to sit back and watch things just going by with no women taking part in equal decision-making in the parliament. I would really want to see women elected to the national government so that when there are women, we can better address issues affecting women, youth, and children of this country.
With the upcoming elections in 2014, programs to help prepare potential women candidates as well as the general public are underway.
Parliament at the moment is now debating on the political party integrity bill, and in the bill it talks about ensuring that each party has 10% of female candidates, and political parties could rally their support behind their women candidates when they run.
There are also opportunities for government to collaborate with NGOs and other development partners.
We need a policy that will set us a guideline, will give us goals to work towards, and will give us basic direction as what to do, so that both the NGO, non-government organization, and government organizations can work towards a common goal to ensure our women enter political leadership.
All of these efforts culminate in initiatives and eventually legislature that will ensure the participation of Solomon women in modern-day national politics.
We still need to have a special mechanism like the TSM to have women elected, because how I got into the provincial assembly may not be the same with other women in other areas, because I did it in such a way that it worked for me in my context. It takes men and women to support women to be elected. Women and men work together now. We can't wait. There is no time as a right time.
The independent state of Samoa, or Samoa, is a sovereign Polynesian nation located in the Central Pacific. Contact with outsiders began in the mid-18th century. Explorers, traders, missionaries, and even famous writers found their way to Samoa. This lasted until the country petitioned for and achieved independence in 1962, the first oceanic nation to do so. Women in Samoa have always played a role in the maintenance of village, culture, and country. The Samoans have a cultural construct, the whenga, based on the brother and sister relationship which regards the male and female as separate yet complementary.
Maitai Samoa, or the Samoan lady, has probably a higher status than the male. And according to our culture, it's the male who does all the hard work, till the land, plant, fish, build. But his sister, the Tumaita, the maker of wealth, the healer, the peacemaker, Paemale Auli, she is the embodiment of the covenant between the male and female, between the brother and the sister.
Modernity and change, especially in Oceania, go hand in hand. Christianity has all but usurped the whenua, and the perception of women's roles in Samoa has changed over time.
Before the missionaries came, women enjoyed quite a high status, but the influence of Christianity altered all of that and made men superior. And that, I think, has influenced women's position for the last 200 years virtually. So now it's a mix, and it's benefited some groups of women and others not at all.
Statistically, more women have received formal education and qualifications than men. As such, women in Samoa have flooded the workforce and secured top-tier positions in the public and private sector, and are especially visible in the civil service. This, however, has not translated into career politics. The issue now, it seems, is how to bridge the divide between the two.
I think the way ahead is really to educate our people about why we need women to be in Parliament. At the moment, there's not enough being done about that. You know, people are basically saying we just need more women. But the question is, you really have to address the question of why.
Democracy is, as you know, not just in terms of representation, physical representation. It means freedom of speech. It's also the ability of both men and women to be able to participate. Especially, government is investing billions of dollars to educate its young people. And you don't invest in young people so that they come and keep quiet.
On March 24, 2013, the Samoan government passed a constitutional amendment reserving 10% of parliament for women, or 5 of the 49 total seats.
Although we had women in our parliament for many years, the early 70s, the greatest number that entered parliament was at our last parliament, when we had 4. And then in this parliament we have 2. Who knows, perhaps in the next parliament we may have none. And as a safeguard against that happening, the thought arose, and the decision was made at our cabinet that we need to introduce legislation.
Preparations are now underway for the upcoming 2016 elections, and the government, working with various development partners, has already rolled out initiatives designed to educate both potential candidates and the general voting public.
In terms of working together with other organizations, we are working with UN Women to put together a booklet for females or women that want to participate as candidates in the 2016 general elections. Our role right now is just to ensure that we educate and inform the general public, and in particular the female component of our population, about the legal changes, and that they're aware of them, and that they can therefore exercise their legal rights.
It is an exciting time for the women of Samoa, and the potential for change that benefits everyone is a testament to their resilience and dedication to the building of Samoa.
We have just celebrated the Golden Jubilee, 50 years of independence. Samoa was given only 15 months as a self-governing nation, but our leaders said we wanted tu to atas, which means independence. So 50 years of independence with only 6 prime ministers and absolutely no revolution.
Women's participation in politics is critical to continued sustainable development across the region, as reiterated in the Pacific Leaders' Gender Equality Declaration. And as nations make strides individually, regional solidarity helps ensure that gender equality is realized across Oceania.
What has happened in Vanuatu and Samoa are also very important for Solomon Islands. That can also be an effective rallying point for Solomon Islands as well.
When you look at TSM for the region, each of our country has their own program, and that is very encouraging. That is a way forward for our region, especially ensuring that our women participate in our political leadership.
UN Women is committed to partnering with governments and civil societies across the Pacific so that women's full political participation and representation becomes a reality.